welcome to this extra video. This one today is going to be predominantly about natural dyeing. In fact, it's all going to be about natural dyeing. So I'm going to share with you some experiments I've done recently and a bit about how I did them. So if you're interested in natural dyeing, then yeah, hopefully this video will be interesting to you. So I'm going to start off maybe explaining a little bit about the basics of the process. For those of you who aren't that familiar with natural dyeing, not all plants can be used as a successful natural dye. Some have what are called fugitive dyes. Things like beetroot, if you imagine the juice of a beetroot and it's that really beautiful, vibrant colour. Beetroot is actually a fugitive dye. The colour doesn't stick. It actually can go quite grey and brown and it fades really quickly. So that's an example of a fugitive dye. So not all plants really work equally. Some are really good. Things like quite common ones are avocado skins and stones, which gives quite a dusky pink. Other things that are quite common are like really traditional plants like madder, which I believe is a root, and then things like cochineal, which is a ground up beetle. They're all like historically heavily used natural dyes. I, however, do a lot of natural dyeing either from plants I've foraged in the sort of local neighbourhood. Remember, I live in a city, so I don't live in the countryside. So I either use plants that I can find quite easily whilst foraging that grow prolifically, so that I'm not impacting on the life of the bees or the insects. Or last year I bought some packets of some dried plants. I bought logwood, madder, cutch, and I think one other. And that has lasted me quite a long time because, you know, I don't do lots of dyeing. And these come in a dried form. Some are powders, some are ground up barks. This logwood is like a bark there, you can see. And yeah, they can always be used differently. Equally, I've got behind me, you can use things like marigolds, so I've grown these. Apparently you can use them. I'll talk about my experience with that later. Sorry, I've got like multiple trays of marigolds drying behind me. Excuse the random stuff in the shelves behind me. The living room is in a bit of flux whilst we sort it out, so it's a bit of a dumping zone at the moment. But yes, all sorts of things can be used. But in order to have a successful, as long-lasting as possible colour, you've got to use something called a mordant to fix the colour to the fibre. So mordants, you have a variety of mordants. Things like soy milk can be used. There's a natural dyer I follow on Instagram called Rebecca Desnos, and she mordants everything with soy milk and has many successful results. I have tried soy milk a few times, but I find it a bit faffy. What I actually tend to use is aluminium sulfate, which is like a white powder which you dissolve in water, and it's ready to use as a mordant. After you have dyed your fibre, you can also alter and affect the final colour by using something called a modifier. So common ones are iron and bicarbonate of soda. So iron tends to make colours darker or more sadder, whereas my recent discovery is bicarbonate of soda makes things brighter. So that's quite exciting. And the colour shift is usually quite quick, almost instantaneous in some cases. So it's really interesting. So in the past I have dyed with things like buddleia, and around this time of year when the buddleia comes out and it's all looking like really big and plump, I kind of get dyeing anxiety, like I should be making the most of it whilst it's there, so that in the depths of winter I'm not thinking, oh, I wish I had dyed something with buddleia, I'd like to do it right now, and now it's not out and it's not in season. So last weekend I decided, you know, feeling the height of my dyeing anxiety, that I would do some natural dyeing. So I did. So I tend to thrift skeins of undyed or really pale yarn and use that to dye over. So where should I start with? So I raided my yarn cupboard and pulled out anything that was undyed that I thought would be quite useful to have an experiment with. And most of them successful. One of them wasn't, and I shared a picture with this on Instagram. I was having a go with marigold actually, and some ripped up bits of avocado skin. I was trying to make a variegated skein, and so I didn't put so much water in the pan because I was hoping to steam the colours out a bit. And actually I burnt the yarn and I wrecked the pan, and the yarn all fell apart because it was burnt. And I wanted to bin the entire thing, the saucepan, yarn and everything, because I'm sure I've wrecked the pan, but my partner wouldn't let me. So I'm still in the process several days later of trying to rescue that pan. I'm not entirely convinced it's possible. But let me show you a bit of an overview of the colours I managed to get. So a lot of yellows you can see. So I've obviously gone for colours that are kind of within my palette, the colours that I like. I've done enough natural dyeing that I kind of have a good idea of what plants will get colours that I like. So I'm going to talk through these ones and I'm going to show you, you can see something peeking to the left as well. So let me start with my absolute favourite. So this was a skein I didn't buy actually, I found it in my stash, and I can only assume that it's come from the de-stash of a relative of relative. I have a relative of a relative that has quite good yarn taste, and she gives me all of her leftovers and scraps she doesn't want. And when I was going through my drawers the other day, I found this, and it's an alpaca. It's obviously French, and the thing that I really like about it is that it has the name of the alpaca on it. So, and you have a picture of him too. So his name is Fellini. And look, you can see how droopy the yarn is. It's got such a lovely, what's the word? What do they call it? I've forgotten the word. It seems to hang well. Drape! It's got a lovely drape. That's what it is. So someone said the other day, phones automatically focus on faces, and if you cover your face up, it's more likely to focus on the yarn. I don't know. We'll see. I might pull some funny faces in this video trying to get better focus. I haven't wound the skein up very well, as you can see. So maybe I'll try and get it a bit neater. With this yarn then, it was completely white when I started, and I mordanted it in aluminium sulfate, as is my standard, with a little bit of cream of tartar, and then I naturally dyed it using purple buddleia. And the colour is just absolutely gorgeous. It's a bit more of an ochre, maybe got a bit more green in it than you can see on the camera, and I think this is my perfect colour. Possibly the same colour. Yes, yeah, it's the same colour as the stripes on my top actually. So I've only got 50 grams. I think it's about a DK weight, so it's not very much yarn. So I honestly don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's so beautiful. I'm going to have to do something with it. I mean, if I'm right, alpaca doesn't tend to hold its structure very well. So I don't really know what I can use it with, because it probably, whatever it is, it will stretch out. So something like a headband probably isn't a good idea. I don't know. But unless I can get something else to pair it with, it's going to have to be on its own. Maybe I just keep it to look at it and stroke it. Also a valid option. But yes, so that one was buddleia. And I didn't modify that one. I'm keeping it that colour because I think it's absolutely perfect. This one was less of a success. So this is 100% wool. I'm not really sure I've got any more specifics than that. It's a lace weight. And this was one of the ones I tried to dye variegated as well. It didn't really work. This isn't a specific plant. This is layers and layers of colours that I didn't particularly like, and it's come out, I guess, like a mid-brown. So I haven't really got anything of interest to really share with you about that one. I mean, it's an okay colour, I guess. I think it will have to be paired with something else to give it some interest. But more excitingly, this one, which I think you can see the colour on screen, it's like a grey-green. It's really pretty. And I think this one is the Isuga alpaca. Oh dear. Oh, what's that? Interesting. Just found a lump of... Hey! Ooh! Sorry, I'm making strange noises. I was like, I found a lump of something in my yarn. It's a piece of logwood. And where it was, I don't know if you can see, it's like an extra blue bit. Yeah, that's quite cool. Maybe I need to embed more bits of logwood in it and do it again. But so this one then, rhubarb leaves I'd read in this book, and I do recommend this book. It's really good. It's called Wild Colour by Jenny Dean. A lot of natural dyers have recommended it to me. She wrote in there that rhubarb leaves can be used for colour. So being that rhubarb leaves, I just throw them in the bin. I don't even compost them because they're poisonous. I decided I would very carefully have a go at using it. Now, as per her book, if I can find the page quickly, the colour that came out was a bit pathetic. Trying to find the right page. I'm sure it was towards the end. The colour that came out was a little bit pathetic. I didn't like, there was not really anything to it. I was kind of expecting that, but I saw that someone on Instagram had dyed with rhubarb leaves and logwood. Here we go. So it came out kind of like one of these, like maybe this colour. And they dyed with rhubarb leaves and logwood, and the colour that had come out was really, really pretty. So I tried that, but for some reason the Isuga alpaca, I couldn't really get it to pick up any colour at all. It was really, really stubborn. So I put the logwood on, and logwood has like a really quick, dramatic colour that comes out. Nothing happened. It didn't change. It wasn't picking up any of the colour. And you know, I had mordanted the fibre, same as all the others. So that didn't work. And so I decided I would put some iron on it as an iron modifier solution, thinking that that might bring out the colour as well. Nothing much happened, which really surprised me because usually that does bring out quite a dark, intense colour. So then I put on some bicarbonate of soda because I was kind of thinking at this point it was like a watery grey colour. It was kind of like weirdly resisting the colour but picking up some of it very slightly. It wasn't very nice. And then putting the bicarbonate of soda on it, something strange happened and it did start drawing up the colour. So I am really pleased with the results. It's very tonal. There's like darker bits, lighter bits, more blue bits, more grey bits. But overall it's kind of got a greeny, greyish, bluey vibe. So that one's quite pretty. But I don't know what I will use that for. I was hoping I'd have 2 skeins of it. In different colours that complemented each other, and obviously I wrecked the other Isuga alpaca skein, so no good really. And then these two, I mean, how bright is that? So these were actually dyed with 2 different plants. This one was dyed with tansy and this one was dyed with goldenrod. Now goldenrod, I think maybe there are some pictures in this book as well. Some people get really lovely results with goldenrod. I, however, have never managed. Rebecca Desnos, who I follow, who I mentioned previously. No, I can't find it. She gets really nice pale sort of sagey bluey greens with goldenrod, and every time I've tried, I've come out with quite an insipid yellow colour. So that happened again. I was really disappointed. And again, tansy, so many people have done really well with tansy, and mine came out really pale and like not very exciting. So this is when I made the discovery about bicarbonate of soda. Yes, bicarbonate of soda. I was looking at it thinking, well, more pale earthy colours, don't really want that. So I put some bicarbonate of soda on it and oh my god, the colour changed straight away, and it suddenly went super, super bright. It was so interesting to watch. It was like magic. So even though these were two different plants, they are basically the same colour. This one I think is a Blue Face Leicester lace weight, and this one is a Baby Merino by Malbrigo. So I've got quite a bit of this in a different colour because I'd previously dyed, I've got 3 of these, and these were dyed with acorns and iron. I did that last year. And this one, which is quite similar to the colour that this was before I put the bicarbonate on it. So they're all the same yarn base. I'm not going to use them in the same project together. I have 3 of these, and I'm hoping to naturally dye some mohair that I've got with acorns in the autumn too. And I want to make a birds of a feather in entirely naturally dyed greys. That's the hope anyway. So these, I'm not really sure what I'll do with them, but probably as one's quite bright and the other one's not, then I will save them for something else, maybe. I don't really know. At the moment I'm kind of just enjoying the different colours. And this one, I do have a little bit more in the same base. I have this one, which I dyed. And this was a combination of madder and logwood, which I over-dyed a skein that was not very successful in colour. I didn't like the colour it came out, so I think I put a bit of madder and logwood over the top to give it a nicer colour. So, I mean, maybe they could work together, but I think the contrast is quite stark, so I'm not sure. And then the other one I did at the weekend is this one. So this was a natural sock DK that I thrifted. So it's originally by Woolly Mammoth Fibre, and it was in the fawn colourway, which is basically the same colour as my skin. I didn't really like the colour, but I bought it knowing that it'd be really easy to over dye. So I have the leftovers of my nurtured sweater, as well as some pale pink natural sock DK that I thrifted. So that gives me probably almost 200 grams. So I'm wondering if I could do something like colour work with this and that, like a hat or something. Could be quite good for winter. And I don't know if you can see, but it is a bit variegated. It's got some more bluey grey bits, some bits that are more grey. So I dyed this. It started out like a pale beige colour, and then I over dyed it with sorry, my hair is all over it, gross. I over dyed it with logwood, and then it came out this really like beautiful bright purpley colour, which I'm probably going to insert some footage of here. So the colour was really, really pretty, and I was really happy with the colour, but it's not actually a colour that I would probably wear. I don't really own anything that colour, like a darker purple or a more grey purple. Like grey purples I wear quite a bit of, but not like purple, bluey purple. So I knew that I was going to modify it with iron. So this is what it looked like after it'd been modified with iron. And so that's a much more a colour for me, definitely. So I'm going to make a hat with that. This one isn't quite dry, so I'm going to unskein it because it still has quite a bit of drying to do. Maybe I can show you some variation in colour a bit better as well. Although I'm not sure it's going to show up. Maybe. But yeah, I'm really pleased with those. And then the last thing I naturally dyed, which I'm going to share with you, is these. There's quite a lot here. So I thrifted, how much was it? Got the note here. Just under 400 grams of a 4-ply merino cotton blend. It's 55% merino and the rest is cotton. And so after the success of my Fellini skein with Buddleia, I decided I was going to do another with Buddleia. So these have also been dyed with Buddleia. So if you look at the difference in fibre, they've had exactly the same treatment, but the colour is completely different. Whether you can see that on camera or not, I don't know. But also, some parts of the skeins are different colours to others. Can you see that up here is a bit darker to that? And that happens quite often with natural dyeing. It might be that I accidentally spilt some iron in the pan and some got more than others. I don't really know, or maybe there's more cotton in some parts than others. Could be anything really. Uneven heating. I had all of this in one really big pan, so uneven dyeing is probably quite likely. But what I will do is when I knit this up, I will alternate the skeins definitely, so that you don't get any colour pooling of like a super dark shoulder and like a super light body or something like that. Because it's merino cotton, I think I will probably do like a summer cardigan with it next spring maybe. This isn't going to happen anytime soon. It is also possible that I might modify it with iron further down the road, because though I do really like this colour, maybe dark green would be more useful for me. I'm pretty sure that if I did modify it with iron, it would go an olivey green. The same with those incredibly bright skeins. I think that they would also go dark green. So I mean, that could be quite interesting. But yeah, these aren't skeined up because they're not dry either. So I don't know if that was interesting at all. I'm not an experienced or an expert natural dyer. I have been sort of toying with it for the last maybe 3 years, doing bits and bobs. If I have a skein of wool I don't really like the colour of, I do tend to just dye over things. I also have a lace shawl that I knit using woolly mammoth fibre yarn, but I have noticed the colour has faded quite a lot. So that's okay because I dyed it all in one, I knit it up all in the same yarn, so there's no colour work or anything. So I think maybe next year I will re-dye it a new colour. That's totally fine, that doesn't bother me. I definitely have plans to do some more dyeing with acorns in the autumn. I have 700 grams of Aran weight alpaca that I was given by the same relative that gave me the Fellini skein, and I'm going to dye those with acorns if it goes well on alpaca, because I think a cosy Aran weight grey shawl would be really lovely. And I'm not sure what else I do 700 grams of alpaca for. I think it might be around 700 meters. But yeah, so that's my future natural dyeing plans. I have some ideas of things I could use for some of these, but equally, aside from maybe making a hat soon, I don't have any intentions of casting any of them on soon. I just wanted to make the colour whilst I have access to the colour, in case at some point in the autumn or winter the fancy takes me to knit it up. But yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have any questions, do ask. I will do my best to answer if I have the answer. If not, Google's your friend. But I really recommend that book I showed you, and I also recommend giving Rebecca Desnos a follow. And if I can think of anyone else that I think is interesting, I will also link them below as well. So I'll put the names of the books in the show more thing underneath. And yeah, and anything else I can think of I'll add there as well. So yeah, thank you. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you soon. Bye. Because I've recorded this in more than one section at different times, so if I drastically change appearance or the visuals don't match up with what I'm saying, it's because I've spliced in some footage from the first video I did.